Hi everybody, welcome to Line of the Week number 147, Motif Development Using Melodic Rhythms. These days I like to practice improvising over a tune by taking a rhythm, adding notes to it, and then developing it. The line I wrote this week is just an example. You can take the melodic rhythm I'll show you in a minute and try it yourself and make your own lines. Before I get to the line of the week, and so we're all on the same page, here are the chords to the progression I'm using. The chords are A flat major 7 to E major 7 to G flat 7 for two measures, to D flat major 7 to C minor 7 to B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. In addition to the standard notation, tab, chords, and chord scales, I also included the hammer-ons, pull-offs, left-hand fingering, and right-hand fingering in the sheet music. I include the left-hand fingering, which I modified from Tim Miller's 2-1-2 approach, which I encourage you all to check out. And I also include the right hand fingering in case you're interested in the finger style approach that I use. Here are the chord scales I use. I use the notes from the chord scales for two things. First, as a source of notes for improvising, and second, to determine tensions to use for comping. The chord scales are E flat pentatonic to B major to D flat melodic minor for two measures, to A flat major to E flat pentatonic to A flat major to E melodic minor. Here's the melodic rhythm I'm using this week. The motif is taken from Jerry Bergonzi's book Volume 4 Melodic Rhythms Used with Permission. Here's the line of the week with Guitar Pro backing I use to make sure I'm getting the notes and the rhythm accurate. Generally speaking, the tools I use to develop motifs include the following. First, an original motif. Second, variation, which means same notes, different rhythm, or same rhythm, different notes. Third, extension, meaning adding notes to either the original motif or a fragment thereof. Fragmentation is another tool I could use, which means using a part of the motif. Rhythmic displacement, which means starting the motif on a different beat. Augmentation, meaning making the time values of the motif longer. Diminution, making the time values shorter. So it's a balancing act of adding different material versus using the same material in developing your motifs. But for in-depth explanations of these ideas, check out Hal Crook's book, How to Improvise. This week's line is another example of how effective it is to use a couple of these tools in a simple way to create nice lines. So let's look specifically at the line of the week. In measure 1, you have the original motif, meaning the melodic rhythm using notes from the chord scale. In measure 2, you've got a variation of the original motif, in this case, meaning same rhythm as the original motif, different notes. In measure 3, you've got another variation of the original motif. In measure 4, you've got a rest. The resting in your lines is very important because it turns a stream of notes into a phrase. In measure 5, you've got another variation of the original motif. In measure 6, you've got a fragment of the original motif, meaning a part of the original motif. In this case, everything in the motif except for the last eighth note. In measure 7, you've got another fragment of the original motif. And in measure 8, you've got another variation of the original motif. So that's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.